Untoxic Podcast, episode 114. We're recording mid-morning, which means that I officially have made the switch over from coffee to Inalani, but I've learned from my past mistakes. I'm growing and evolving as a human, and I've learned over the past almost 3 years of doing this podcast, which is crazy town, that I do not finish a beverage while I'm recording, probably because I'm talking for about an hour straight and there's no one else to speak while I take a sip break. So that's why there's uncomfortable silences every so often as I take 3 to 4 drinks per episode. So we're going with a little mini one today, and then I can have the second half, i.e. a full Alani later in the day. Am I addicted to them? Probably. But hear me out. This is still an improvement from all of the sugary lattes that I used to drink, and this is fresh in my mind because it's tax season, which means that I have to go through all of my bank statements for my business last year and total up all my expenses, all my categories, everything that I purchased, spent, paid, everything from last year. So I'm keenly aware of how many coffees I got, and you can tell such a stark decrease from the entire year up to the point that my doctor had said, girl, you got to cut back on sugar. And all of a sudden my coffee meetings were cut in half because I was no longer getting lattes, I was getting house coffee, and I also stopped scheduling meetings at coffee shops because what torture if I couldn't have them. Now I've conditioned myself to like oat milk lattes, so I'm back at coffee shops multiple times a week again, which is probably not great for the old bank account, but it's great for my soul, and which one really matters? Pause for a second. Hello again. So sorry about that. I just remembered that it would be prudent of me to shut the blinds halfway because the lighting is coming in pretty strong from the side and I could not read my notes. And we all know what happens whenever I don't read my notes. It means I get horribly derailed and I end up speaking for 35 minutes without even getting into my topic. Oh wait, that's what happened last week. So I'm trying not to do that this week. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Unfortunately, I scheduled it incorrectly. I had scheduled the episode for noon on Thursday versus midnight. So it was honestly kind of sweet because I got a couple messages about, girl, where's the episode? Are you okay? The answer is I've just been so scattered, and I can't even tell you why it's been busier. I think it's a combination of spring. All my clients are feeling inspired. Everyone's wanting to do all these projects. There's so many things coming up, which means I've also had a lot of freelance work that pops up, and I love taking on those projects just here and there. But there's just been so many things that have pulled my attention away from my B tier tasks, which are my creative projects. I wish they were my A tier tasks, but unfortunately they don't yield the kind of income necessary for them to ascend to that level quite yet. Here's hoping. But at this point, if work demands more of my time, I have to put this in the back burner, which is very sad. So I've tried to prioritize the uploads, getting the episodes recorded and out to you, but unfortunately that means that I have not apparently scheduled them on time, and I've not been clipping them. I haven't been making posts. So finally I'm clipping last week's episode today. This episode comes out on Thursday, so I'm catching up, and part of me was like, I should just take a week break and catch everything up so I can, post clips from episode 112 and then episode 13 and go from there. But also I don't want to. So I'm going to keep recording. This is the fun part, getting to chat with you guys and hearing the feedback from everyone. So for those of you who messaged wondering where the episode was, just know that you will be the heir to all I possess should I meet an untimely demise, because that made my whole day. But in all honesty, every time I get a message from anyone who listens to the podcast, it does make me really happy, just because sometimes sitting here in my living room and talking to myself, it can feel like I'm just speaking into the void, which is fine because I do enjoy speaking into the void. It just is a little bit more heartwarming whenever I remember that people are listening to what I'm saying. Okay, moving right along. It is so blustery today. I can hear from my window, in my office window that I have still wide open, even though I'm not in there right now. It is so blustery outside. The wind is gusting. It's blowing like shrapnel down the street. I think I saw a tumbleweed earlier. So I'm afraid for small children, small dogs, neighbors' basketball goals, things of that nature. There's like trash getting stuck in our fence because it just keeps blowing in from neighboring construction sites. But whatever. That's for future me to pick up. Probably not. It's for Austin. Anywho, I'm just happy that it's spring. This is for the best because whenever it's too nice outside, like last week, I do this thing where I'm like, I could work from my hammock, and I fall into this pitfall every single year. I get entrapped and ensnared by how alluring the spring air is and the sunshine and vitamin D, and I think I can do this outside. So what happens is I go set up my hammock outside in the sun. I feel it on my skin. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm the luckiest girl to have ever lived. I can work outside literally from my hammock in my backyard. I get about 15 minutes into working and I realize why that's not effective. My screen has the craziest glare on it. I can see 1,000,001 fingerprints. I can see like the most unflattering reflection of my face more than I can see the actual contents of the screen. So I'm trying to angle my screen at such a position that I can't see my own double chin and like my nose from the angle beneath me. I can't see anything that's going on. I'm trying to squint to get really close to it. I have a crick in my neck. I'm holding my computer at an odd angle, giving myself early onset carpal tunnel. The wind is blowing. My hair is in my face. There's now, unfortunately, bugs have returned from the 8th circle of hell to whence they get banished over the winter, but they're back. And after about 25 minutes of working outside, I'm like, why did I do this all in the first place? But I took the time to set everything up, so now I'm going to stick it out. So my productivity is then further hindered. But I try. So the fact that it's so windy outside that I know I'm not going to have any luck, it's going to be a lot cooler than I think it is. My stuff is going to be blowing all over the backyard. It's a good reminder that I need to stay indoors to get all of the work done that is required of me. So sorry. Let me put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That's rude. Anywho. Natural hair. As you can tell, my hair is a crazy mop. I had this idea in my head that, you know what? Spring is near. Spring is possibly here to stay? Question. I don't know. But I like to go easy on the heat when it comes to summertime. It's a lot easier whenever it's pool season and everyone's kind of rocking the natural look. But I was like, you know what? I am working from home tomorrow. Let me wash my hair and then just let it air dry. So I tried this trick where you put it in like one of those microfiber turbans and you sleep in it, which I wasn't sure due to the violent nature of how I sleep. Something happens in my REM cycle that I just can't explain, but usually I end up like throwing covers everywhere. I'm upside down. It's a miracle Austin stays asleep, but I wasn't sure this turban would remain on my head. Somehow it did. And when I took my hair off this morning, my turban off my hair this morning, it wasn't great, but it wasn't horrible. So I've kind of wrangled it down to what you now see. And luckily, because it's black now, you can't tell just how messy it is. It kind of hides the chaos a little bit, but it's still not maybe at the length that it should be for wearing it natural all the time. So I'm going to try and not mess with it too much. I do have a bad habit of that. Anyone who watches the video can probably tell I'm fidgeting with my hair every other second, it seems, but we're going to go with it. So I don't know. It's not too bad. It'll do for now. The good thing about natural hair is that it tends to just stay where it's at. If my hair is straight or it's been brushed too many times, it's like in my face and my bangs are down and it's a little bit more high maintenance during the day. When it's natural, it just kind of sits where it sits. So we'll see if I don't venture out into the high winds, the tornado, and other natural conditions that we're having outside. Austin's birthday was this weekend. I don't know if I mentioned that on the last episode. Probably not because I recorded it too far away from the weekend and my brain hadn't caught up yet. But he turned 31, which was so exciting. Also heartbreaking and emotional because another year that he's already lived and I will not get to experience again. But that's okay. I decorated a golf cart for his golf round on his birthday because we woke up and had breakfast together, and then he was going to go golf with his dad and his brother because it was a beautiful day. So I had the idea, why not decorate a golf cart to surprise him when he gets to the club? So I called him before and I was like, hey, my husband's birthday is tomorrow. He has a tea time at 10:50. Is it cool if I come up and decorate a golf cart, like streamers and balloons and stuff like that? I'll take it down afterwards. You don't have to do anything. I'll try not to make it too over the top. I probably will fail, but I'll try. And just have it there to surprise him tomorrow morning. And they're like, yeah, whatever. And I was like, okay, is there anything I can't do? And they're like, no, just whatever. They were so chill about it. So I raided Party City. They have like 7 days left of their store being open, got tons of stuff. I think most of it was for a 50th birthday, but it didn't exactly say 50. It just said golden, golden birthday, golden era on a lot of stuff. And I thought it was hilarious. So I got him all these things. I got him a pair of glasses that said like caution old AF and it's a big road construction sign, the boa, the little birthday medallion, everything. I got so many balloons. And this was another blustery day. And I have never felt more afraid for my life than I did walking from Party City to my car with 15 balloons on a day where the wind speeds were up to 60 miles an hour. I thought this is about to be the sequel to Up, but the horror version. It was treacherous. Somehow I wrangled them all into the car, took them out there, decorated the golf cart, and my brother-in-law was tasked with at least getting one photo of him that day, and he did one better. He filmed the entire thing. It was hilarious. Austin was very caught off guard and embarrassed, and that is exactly the goal. I think everyone should feel special and maybe a little bit embarrassed on their birthday. He was like, I'm going to remember this for your birthday, so you better keep an eye out. And I said, you are 31. You're going to forget this. everyone knows that men's memories aren't fully developed ever, but they hit like a peak, I think probably around age 27, 28, and then they start to go back down. So he's over that peak and he's coming back down. He's magnificent in so many ways. Memory, not one of them. So by the time my birthday rolls around in November, that will not be a thought anywhere relating to his atmosphere mentally, which is good. He had a wonderful time. We had a couple great dinner dates, went with his family. It's been just so much fun. So now he's 1 year older and I just can't process that emotionally, but it was a good time. Report. Let's get into it. First, books. I haven't opened one yet, but I got a lot of books from the Little Free Library 1 street over from my house. A lot of them are kind of that fluffy palate cleanser genre where they're just about like a one-off story. You're not kicking off a series. You're not entering into a fantasy world. There's nothing crazy here. It's not going to change my life, my personality, but it'll be a nice, good vibe to read in the distracting spring conditions, i.e., children screaming in the background, wind blowing, trying to keep in the hammock, whatever. They're good books. So I have a bunch. I haven't decided which one I'm going to start with, but when I do, I will make sure to update you guys. But I got a good haul. Next, what am I eating? Lots of breakfast foods. Actually, I'm on a 3-meal streak of exclusively breakfast foods because I had breakfast yesterday morning, yesterday evening, we had breakfast for dinner, and then this morning I also had breakfast foods. So I had a big breakfast. I didn't have lunch yesterday, so that's why I had to have such a massive dinner. Not ideal, but it's okay. We hit our macro goals. We got all of our food in. But I'm eating a lot of eggs lately and a lot of turkey bacon, and I think I'm gonna burn myself out. But turkey bacon, I go through a phase like every 6 months where I rediscover it. So we're in one of those right now. Turkey bacon is great. Playing 70s music, easy listening. Like I recently discovered some Bob Dylan songs. I would love to say it's because of Timothy Chalamet. It's not. I just heard a song on my like electric light orchestra radio, and I was like, this is such a good song. I wonder who sings it. Listened to it, pulled it up. It's Bob Dylan. Where have I been? I have no idea. Apparently under some kind of rock. But 70s music, great. Obsessing, getting fully ready. Let's talk about this for a second. Another thing that cycles through in my brain is how ready I feel like getting on any given day. And for a long time, I don't know what it was, if it was just like winter, or I often hit this phase in the summer as well, where I just don't feel like doing full makeup. I'll do, my hair enough to look presentable, but I'll do face makeup, maybe some like light blush, always brows, always lips, because my eyebrows for some reason grow in blonde and my lips are the color of my actual face. So they don't exist unless I fill them in with makeup. And that's it. So I'll do no eye makeup for these long streaks. My makeup is super fast, very efficient, in and out. And then I go through phases like right now where I just enjoy getting ready. And the whole process of it, I really have romanticized and drawn this thing up to be really like a big part of my day. But sitting down, having my water or my coffee, my iPad goes up in this little groove on my acrylic makeup containers. So my iPad sits right in front of me. Right now I'm rewatching New Girl, so I have an episode of New Girl playing and just go to town. For some reason, I'm enjoying it. There are times where I can't be bothered to even do a swipe of mascara on my lashes. Right now, I'm curling them, I'm doing the lashes, I'm like blending my eyeshadow. I don't know. And even on days whenever I don't have anything that would really require me to wear a lot of makeup, like today, I did not have to do a full face of makeup. I'm doing this and like a couple calls, and that's really it. I could have gotten away with like very, very minimal makeup, but I just enjoy the process. So I don't know. It's been fun lately. I also have been really into fashion and like fun outfits and all of those things that go along with just presenting yourself well. It's probably just spring. Honestly, it's probably just coming back to life after a long and treacherous winter, but that's okay. What am I recommending? Opening the windows and hammocking. Maybe not on a day like today because you might get sucked into a different dimension, but on days when the conditions are maybe more mild. There's just something about hearing the birds chirp and smelling that pollen-ridden air. It just brings me back to life. And then I regret it later in the day whenever I can't stop sneezing, but that's fine. Treating myself to Alani's every day at about noon. Sorry. Anywho, that's that, okay? I sped through it. I did my best to get through it quickly. And here we are. Last week, we talked about the whiplash that you can experience going from hustle culture, being told to go faster, be better, work harder, sleep less, just generally push and be productive all the time. The guilt that you feel for constantly not being in some kind of a productive phase and slacking off in the slightest, to now this push for soft living and peace and quiet and, lower your cortisol and go slow, read a book and even on Pinterest, which is like the most sacred of all websites, then there's different urges and different things people are encouraging you to do. Like instead of habit stacking, you should be slow maxing. And those are chronically online terms, but let me explain. So habit stacking is like, what can you do while doing something else? For example, if you want to listen to an audiobook, you can listen to your audiobook while you're walking on the treadmill, or you can listen to your audiobook while you're working, or listen to it while you're organizing your pantry, or you can get a walking pad and do your walking while you're actually working, and so on and so forth. It's just multitasking, but it's theoretically multitasking in a way that doesn't deplete your focus on either thing. So it's things that kind of run parallel to each other that can be stacked easily. Like if you want to call your mom and talk to her every day, but you can't do that whenever you're working because you get distracted. So you call your mom every day whenever you're driving to go do something. So things that don't detract from the success of either task, but they also are multitasking. That's a great thing. And I'm very pro habit stacking in a lot of situations, mainly because I'm very HD. I'm very much a busybody, very hyperactive. So I love to be doing multiple things at once. The problem is that my brain sometimes doesn't like that. Sometimes it flows perfectly. I'm in a state where everything can just move and groove. And then other times it's like my brain gets this weird, like the neurons aren't firing like they're supposed to. So it's like I start something and I can't finish that. Then I look over here and I can't finish this. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe I could start doing that. And then I can't, oh, I should finish that. I start it and put it down. And it's just as chaotic as it sounds on the microphone right now. And then I can't get anything done because I'm starting and stopping and pivoting, and it just is like a disaster. So this weekend, I used my Sunday, because we do church on Saturdays, I used my Sunday to be a whole experiment with single tasking. And this is going to sound absolutely insane to those of you who are not as ADHD as I am, but the whole day I tried to only be doing one single thing at a time. So whenever I woke up, I went and made my coffee, didn't watch TikTok or scroll anything while I was waiting for it to brew. And I sat down, did my Bible study, finished that up, and I was like, you know what? Let's start the laundry. Let's do these things. So did the laundry, didn't put a video on while I was folding it the entire day. Went to my office, didn't listen to music, didn't listen to a podcast, didn't have a YouTube video playing, didn't have a single other thing going on. I just had my phone face down on Do Not Disturb, typing away, doing my work. There was nothing in the background. Whenever I would take small breaks to go put a grocery order in or fold the laundry or get a snack, didn't call anyone to chit chat, didn't listen to a single thing seriously all day long. Then later, whenever I was like taking a relaxing bath to reward myself for all the work that I got done, I didn't watch anything. I love having my iPad in the tub. You'll notice a trend. I'm a huge iPad kid, okay? I like to watch a little video or listen to an audiobook or something while I'm relaxing. Didn't do that. Just sat there and stared at the ceiling. And it was actually really refreshing. There were times that my brain was like, I need something else. I'm so bored. But it also allowed me to hone in on this one thing. And when I finished a task, I wasn't feeling flustered. I wasn't feeling like my brain was vibrating and buzzing with all of these things coming in at once, because it is engaging and I like listening to things while I'm doing other tasks. And I don't really mean tasks like driving. Obviously, you can listen to something or call someone. Mindless tasks like sitting in the tub or putting groceries away even, or folding laundry, those don't really need to be completely stimulus free, but they also don't require me to be entertained, because at most I'm folding laundry for 10 to 12 minutes for one load, and then I leave and then wait for the next one to require folding an hour later. So I don't need to be watching things during that whole time. And one thing I noticed at the end of the day, whenever I had really been focusing on one thing at a time, just what's in front of me, is that my brain just felt quieter, less busy, less cluttered. I know, imagine that. You don't listen to things constantly every second of the day while you're also on your phone and your computer, and then your brain feels quieter. I should write some kind of thesis paper. This is groundbreaking. I know, but I'm as guilty as I'm sure some of you are at thinking, I read these things online about how you need to slow down and cleanse your brain and not listen to things all the time and take it slower. And you think, I'm not actually affected by those things. I like to listen to things. I like to listen to music and podcasts. I like to watch videos. I like to talk to my friends on the phone. But it's not affecting my cognitive function. It's not affecting how I handle these executive tasks. It's just something I enjoy doing. I could stop at any point in time. And I didn't realize how many impulses I would have, like while I'm working on posts for the week, to just start a YouTube video or just go play my audiobook, because it's a habit. And that's one thing that I've been challenging myself to ask is this something I really enjoy having on in the background? Is it making me a better worker? Is it making me enjoy my days more? Is it making me more productive? Or is it just a habit that I like to have on and I'm not even really listening? So at some points, I think it's a mixture of both. But there are a lot of times that I think I just put something in the background because I'm not comfortable with silence, which everyone who knows me would be like, have you not known this? I feel like this is a completely obvious thing that you're talking about. And maybe it is, okay? But life is a journey of self-discovery. And sometimes I find myself going in circles around the path. But that's okay because we're trying to move forward and make progress. So, all that to say, going slower is not necessarily a bad thing. And I'm trying to implement that into more of my days where I don't need to have music playing all the time and just taking the time to do the task and not rush through it, or even the simple little transitional moments like putting an outfit together, coming home and putting all my stuff down. It just makes it more cluttered if my podcast is still playing in the background or there's still a YouTube video that I haven't paused yet, because your brain is just intaking all this information. And even if you're not really paying attention to what New Girl episode is on, your brain is still processing it and like filing it away somewhere in the recesses of your filing cabinet that's your noggin. And I think it just gets cluttered. So I don't know. I'll report back to you guys whenever I have a couple more uh, tests under my belt as far as what we're doing. But it's been a little bit nice. So with that, slow maxing is the literal opposite. I know that that was a very long-winded explanation, but slow maxing is taking the long route to do one thing. So rather than finding the most efficient, habit-stacked way to do something, the most productive way to spend the hour, it's going slower. And, maybe you're taking the time to hand pull the espresso shots versus using your Keurig or your Nespresso machine. If you happen to be a coffee addict and have all of those machines like I do, that's probably not realistic. Or making protein pancakes from scratch versus using just the frozen ones. Following a chocolate chip cookie recipe and really taking your time to hand mix all of it and, go slow and just spread the whole thing out versus like whipping them up really quick and throwing them in the oven. Going on a long walk, taking the long drive home and so on and so forth. Basically just taking the longer route from point A to point B and savoring it. And sometimes it's not feasible. Sometimes your schedule doesn't permit. Sometimes you just don't feel like going slow. Sometimes your children don't permit you to go slow. And I know there are so many different qualms with that way of thinking. I myself have quite a few, but I think it's something that I'm trying to keep in mind, that not everything has to be the most efficient possible, okay? Which leads me to my next topic, productivity guilt. Why we feel it, why we have this compulsion to make everything as streamlined and as maximized as possible. Obviously, that's just what society has conditioned us to want to do and feel. So growing up, we are always told, do more, be more productive. Here's 10 ways you can maximize your habits. Here's how to 10x your life. Here's how to 10x your health. Here's how you can go from this to this. Everything is about making you, quote, better, making you faster and more efficient, and everything that is quantifiable about being better. But there's hardly any discourse about the non-quantifiable ways that we can improve. Things like, are you happier? Are you more at peace? Are you less stressed? Do you feel more fulfilled by your days? Are you doing more creative things? Do you feel happier? Do you just enjoy your life? Those things you can't be measured. You can't, put on a spreadsheet or see a little graph showing your progress and life fulfillment. It's just not something you can really put pen to paper on. So naturally, there are fewer ways that people advise you to pursue that, because they can't just say one size fits all, this is what you should do. But I think that's something that's very important for us to look inward and analyze. So why do we feel like we're failing when we're not productive? Great question. For me personally, I think it's because I have always tied my worth to some kind of output, and I don't even really know where this started. Probably the same way that a lot of kids who are, quote, gifted in school, and you learn to separate yourself from others on the basis of your academic achievement. So you rely on validation or some kind of kudos or just a distinguishing trait, even something as simple as taking a harder class than someone else, to affirm why you're valid or why you're smarter or why you're good at something. So that translating into adult life, you're always looking for something to point to be like, oh, I'm that much valuable, that honors class valuable. And that there's not really an equitable thing in the adult world. There's, success at work or promotions, there's money that you can make, there's obviously health and fitness, there's different avenues that you can channel it into. But for me, it's manifested most of the avenues that it can be channeled into because I am all or nothing baby. But I have struggled for the longest time, and my husband always jokes that I couldn't take naps whenever I first met him because even on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, like not even beautiful, say it's a gloomy, rainy, miserable Sunday afternoon, there's nothing to do, there's nowhere to go, I couldn't take a nap because I felt like I was wasting time. I felt like somebody would come over and be like, oh my gosh, you're taking a nap. You are a lazy slob. You are literally doing nothing with your life. What is wrong with you? How can you live with yourself? And that was like the internal dialogue that I had. And it made so many things miserable because I felt like I couldn't relax or enjoy the evening. I couldn't sleep in. I couldn't just sit and watch TV. Like I always had to be doing something. And that is something that I've really, really worked on for a long time. I know that now I still crochet sweaters as I'm watching TV, but that's for enjoyment. Okay, that enriches my life. Hang on a second. Let me drink my drink. I'm getting fired up and I need to chill. So I feel like for me, I always associated rest with laziness. And learning to make that distinguishment, I don't know, learning to separate the two and differentiate between what is me giving myself grace, what is me taking a much needed reprieve and pause to refresh my mind, body, and soul, and what is me being lazy, procrastinating, and avoiding things. So obviously those are polar opposites, but I feel like most people fall into one of the two camps where you really struggle with one or the other. There are some people that really just struggle with procrastination, with laziness, with avoidance, and not wanting to tackle hard things for whatever reason, but you really struggle with getting started or staying going. There are others who have this crippling inability to stop. And that leads to burnout. It leads to shoddier work quality. It leads to this complex of never being able to sit still, which obviously can lead to high cortisol and stress and so on and so forth. They're both bad paths. As with anything, the answer lies somewhere in the middle. It's just very challenging to find that balance. So I've written this whole episode to kind of talk about the difference between rest and avoidance and whether you're burnt out or are you procrastinating when you're giving yourself grace versus when you need to have a little bit of discipline. So to start, let's talk about you guys. Let's do a little questionnaire. You know, I love to point the finger back at you because this is always about me and my flaws. And while I do love talking about them, let's talk about yours. So here's how you know if you have toxic productivity. If you feel guilty when you're taking a break, even if you know that you need one, all right, you know you feel burnt out, weighed down, your body's exhausted, your mind's exhausted, you have no new ideas, whatever it is. So you take a break, and the whole time you feel so guilty. And it's not restful, it's not making you feel recharged, you're not inspired, you just feel shame the whole time and like you need to hide it. Here's a good example. If you are married, you have roommates, and you finally sit down to do something like read a book or watch TV, and then your husband comes home or your kids get home from school or your roommates get home or whatever it is, and you feel like all of a sudden you have to jump up and do something. Like you are on the couch reading, which is a fine way to spend the afternoon, or even just scrolling your phone. And you hear the garage door and you're like, oh shoot, I have to do something. So you jump up and you start busying yourself with some task. Why are you guilty? Why do you feel bad for resting? And if it's something with that dynamic, like you feel like that person is going to judge you, that's an external issue that we should talk about in a different episode. But if it's something in you, like for the longest time when Austin came home, I would feel like I can't just be sitting down, I have to be doing something. So I would jump up, even if I had just sat down like 30 seconds prior and taken a deep breath for the first time all day. I'd be like, I have to start something. I have to cut some fruit. I have to do some dishes. I have to do something. And finally he was like, you can chill. Like it's not that big. I want you to relax actually. So luckily he has helped me unlearn a lot of those habits. And I don't know. I think that's something that I very much am still overcoming. But now if he gets home, I'm not like jumping up and down to start putting blueprints together for how to demo the kitchen. I don't know. Next, when you do rest and you look back on it, do you feel recharged or do you feel like you've wasted time? This is hard for me too, because I will look forward to a restful day all week. Like Sunday, if I don't have any plans, I'll look forward to it literally from the Sunday prior and think it's going to be so nice. I'll wake up, I'll sleep in. I'm not going to set an alarm at all. Make some coffee. I'll get to read. I can just crochet, watch a movie. I can have like a TV binging marathon. It'll be so amazing. I'm not going to do a single thing. And then the day comes and I'm like, I have to do something. Like I can't rest until I've done something. Or if I actually commit and I spend the entire day relaxing, which I did do a good job of over the winter, I spend the entire day just, soaking in the hunker down nature of the winter season. And then Monday comes around, or even like 8 p.m., and I'm like, I didn't do anything today. I don't deserve to rest. I can't even go to sleep now because I haven't done enough to warrant a full 8 hours of sleep. So if you feel guilty or not recharged, you feel shame after a day of actual rest, maybe you're a victim of toxic productivity. Next, if you're not working towards a goal, you feel like you're falling behind, even if there's no actual deadline. This could be two different factors. So for me, I always need something that I'm focusing on. At times, it can be like 10 different somethings. It can be I'm focused on my career, but I'm also focused on my fitness, but I'm also focused on this home project. I'm also making this sweater, and I'm kind of doing this writing project on the side, and I really want to be better about posting my content on time. So I have all these different things that I'm working towards, and I struggle in seasons where I don't have that. So then I end up manufacturing things that I'm working towards. If you have something that someone else has put into your life, like I'm going to make this the year that I start my party planning business, and there's not a real deadline for that, but you feel guilt or shame if you're not actively working towards that all the time, then you might be a victim of toxic productivity. Okay. Have you ever ignored exhaustion because you felt like you should keep pushing? I know some of you have. And again, there are situations where you're not able to stop. Like if you're a parent, you probably can't just stop because you're exhausted. But I'm talking about situations that are within your control. So I've done this mainly with work because contrary to what you might think, I do stop whenever my body is telling me to stop in the gym. But in work, I often don't because I know how cushy my job is as far as I work from my house and I do social media. It's like I'm doing something that's overly stressful in nature. So I have a hard time whenever I'm exhausted saying, oh, I need to take a break because I'm editing a video for an Instagram reel. So that's where I struggle, is that I will push past my mental exhaustion, not so much as I've learned to set healthier boundaries over the past year, but that's been something that I've struggled with in my work life. And lastly, we already kind of covered this. Do you tie your self-worth to how productive or accomplished you are? Yes. The answer is yes, I do. So what we're going to do is rebrand our self-discipline. We're going to rebrand how we view our lives, because the last thing that I want to do in my own life or promote outwardly is talk about how we need to give ourselves grace and take it easy and don't push yourself and just go slow, because then it easily lends itself to making excuses, overindulging, and not doing anything at all. So it's a slippery slope, because on the one hand, you don't want to be pushing so hard that you're harming yourself and that you're overexerting all the time and that you're never giving yourself grace and you have no sense of self beyond your accomplishments and your productivity. But I also don't want to see that flipped in my life or in yours, to where everything has an excuse and I deserve to rest. I deserve to go spend money. I deserve to shop. I deserve this whole entire cake. I can just skip the gym today. It's not about how I look anyways. It's all about how I feel. Because the bottom line is, there are some times that you just don't feel like doing anything that you have to do. There are times I don't feel like working or feel like going to the gym or feel like cleaning the house or feel like responding to texts or answering phone calls. There are times that you don't feel like it, and, within reason, yeah, give yourself a break from it. But if you listen to those urges all the time, it becomes your new habit, and then all of a sudden you're not doing anything in the name of self-care. And with this constant push in the world to relax and just take it easy on yourself and choose you, put yourself first, no one's going to look out for you if you don't look out for you, then it can be very easy to mistake self-care and giving yourself grace with making excuses for yourself, being overly lenient, and allowing laziness to creep back into your life. So it's a catch-22 is what I'm saying. We just can't win. So how to make self-discipline feel aligned and not forced? These are direct notes from things that I've been working on. I guess I'm in the opposite. I've overcorrected. These are things I've worked on in the past. So if you're on this far end where you're like, I don't know, I think I've been a little bit too lax with myself, or, I had to give myself grace for a time because I was recovering from something, or because I was burnt out, but now I feel like I've let it go on for too long, whatever it happens to be, here's how we bring self-discipline back in a healthy way. So first, reframe discipline as a choice and not a chore. So instead of saying, I have to go to work every day, think I get to have a job that pays the bills and allows me to do things I actually enjoy. Because even though some of us are very fortunate in enjoying our jobs and loving what we do, most of the time, there's a reason they have to pay you for it. It's because it's not so much fun. So rather than thinking you have to go to your job, you have to put this report together, you have to look at this spreadsheet, just think of this as a thing that allows you to do the fun things in your life that you actually enjoy. Similarly, I don't have to eat healthy. I have to eat this nasty boiled egg, whatever else. I get to eat in a way that fuels my body. I get to eat in a way that's going to help me sustain life long term, promote more energy. I get to eat in a way that helps me pursue my goals so that I can feel confident in shorts and swimsuits, so on and so forth. Similarly, you can also put it in the gym. I can't give any examples. Okay, you guys get it. I don't have to go to work out. I get to go work out. You get it. Next, make it personal, not prescriptive. What I mean by this is discipline feels very much like a punishment if you feel like someone else has prescribed it to you. So if someone else is telling you that you should be doing this, whether it's an Instagram guru or your friend or your mom or someone else, if it's someone telling you that you should be doing this for whatever reason that they have put onto you and projected onto you, then it's always going to feel like some kind of a sentence, like a punishment that they've imparted onto you. But if it's personal, if you're like, I want to feel good this summer at the pool, I want to do this, I want to eat healthier, or I want to work out more so that I can be more active with my kids. Those are personal reasons to do something. Even with your business or your career or your side hustles, if you're thinking, I want to make podcasting my full-time job, so I'm going to put in the extra work, then the discipline doesn't feel so harsh. It doesn't feel like something that you're being assigned. It feels like something that you're allowed to do, which is a blessing. And creating a system that works for you, finally. I thrive on structure, and I like to have, as you know, a Pinterest board, a plan, a list, a whole life stage title for everything that I'm doing. If that doesn't work for you, if you're someone who feels suffocated in constraints and routine and structure, then don't do that. Make it something that's like, I'm not going to work out at the same time every day. I'm going to work out when I feel like it every day. Maybe not when you feel like it, but I'm going to work out when it fits with my schedule best each day. So maybe it's not you're saying I'm going to go to the gym every day after work at 5:30 p.m. It's just sometimes you go at lunch and sometimes you go later. You go home first and then you go back to the gym. Sometimes it's in the morning. So if the system isn't working for you, if it's either too structured or too lax, make adjustments to it. So I know that there are some situations where you're not in control of how things play out, probably if you work in a corporate setting, but within the parameters of your life, then find a system that works the best for you, because that is obviously what will make it more long-lasting, and longevity is what we're going for. This next little section, we're learning to balance discipline with self-trust. So knowing when to push, when to pause, when to, hit the NOS, when to hit the brakes. That's a car reference, in case you didn't know. I've been thinking about Fast and Furious a lot lately. I don't know why. Probably TikTok, because I'm getting served a lot of car videos, which is a mystery to me, but more on that later. Sorry, I'm tangled up in a cord right now, if you can tell why I'm shuffling around. Okay. Learning to differentiate between excuses and true fatigue. So as with the sliding scale of earlier, you probably fall into one of the two categories. I have a hard time recognizing true fatigue because I don't trust myself. So when I start to get exhausted and think, I'm burnt out, I'm not coming up with good ideas, I'm not focused, my default setting is to think, you're making it up, you're not actually tired. So I will go to war with myself to accuse myself of not being dedicated, of not being committed, of not working hard and making excuses, before I'll sit back and think, maybe you're actually just tired. Maybe these are authentic signals from your body and your mind that you need a break. That doesn't seem valid to me. So I have a really hard time believing myself when I feel ready for a break. On the contrary, you might be someone who is like, oh, I deserve a break. I've worked really hard. I've been at this for like 40 minutes. I'm done for the day. I put in the work. I have to choose me, self-care. I'm going to go take a nap. You might fall on the opposite side, and both are unhealthy in their own way. But I don't know. I think that I can't speak to how the opposite side feels just because I haven't experienced that as much. But I know that you have to learn yourself from an objective viewpoint. For me, that's been people like my mom, my best friend, my husband. They can look at me and say, okay, you are going a little bit too hard. I can see the signs. I can hear how you're talking. You're being a little crazy. You've got that glint in your eye. You have to chill. So for you, whatever side you fall on, maybe it's having people around you that can be objectively tough and give you that feedback and kind of be the bumper rails on your bowling round and say, all right, I love you, but you've been saying you're going to do this for a year now, and you still haven't gotten your personal training license. You still haven't gotten the certificate. You still haven't filed for this LLC. You haven't started eating clean. Are you good? Is this still something that you want? Is this a goal that you still align with? And giving you that objective feedback as to how your excuses are, if they're valid or if they are in fact excuses. Next, the 5-minute rule. So when it comes to discipline, when it comes to getting yourself started, sometimes you just have to get through the door or get started. With different tasks, as far as work, if I can get myself to do something for 5 minutes, I can do it probably to completion. So if I'm like, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes answering emails, and when the 5 minutes are done, even if I haven't made that much headway on my emails, I'll stop. This is something that I do struggle with because I have a hard time sitting down for tasks that I don't feel like are as important as other things on my to-do list. But the problem is that if these are the 5th most important thing on my to-do list and I finish the first 4, by the time I finish the first 4, there's another thing in that first floor slot. So the emails being in their little 5 hole, they never actually get addressed. So I sit down and I say, I'm going to spend 5 minutes addressing these emails and then I can be done. But by the time you get into it, then, it takes 6.5 minutes and you're like, I'm already halfway done. I'll go ahead and finish it. If you go to the gym and you're like, I'm going to walk on the treadmill for 5 minutes, and if I don't feel it by the end of the 5 minutes, I'll be done. Most of the time, if you can get your blood pumping just enough to get that tiniest bit of endorphin rush, or you can get yourself in the headspace of working out, or a good song comes on and now all of a sudden you're ready for the full workout. If you can do something for 5 minutes, you can probably see it through. So give yourself 5 minutes and your momentum will probably carry you the rest of the way through. But if not, at least you started, and we'll try for 10 minutes next time. Okay, next, check in with your future self. And this can go on the grace side or the discipline side. For example, there are many nights that I would stay up super late working and just think I'm going to feel so much better if I can have all this done tomorrow. And on the one hand, yes, I felt better because those tasks were off my to-do list. But on the other hand, I felt exhausted and drained and unrested and grouchy and stressed because I didn't sleep because I stayed up all night doing my tasks. So checking in with my future self would probably look something like, okay, yes, I'll feel better if these things are off my to-do list, but I could also work a little bit later, get to bed at a decent hour, get rest, sleep for a full 8 hours, wake up, and then immediately start working again. Then I will feel better because I'll still be able to finish my tasks. I'll be mentally rested. It's not going to ruin the entire day because all of a sudden I can't think clearly because I only had 4.5 minutes of REM sleep last night. On the contrary, if you're someone who's like, you know what, I'm going to skip the gym today. It was a stressful day. My coworkers were on me. I'm just not feeling it. I'm kind of having cramps. I don't like it. But you've also skipped the gym like 3 or 4 times a week for the past couple weeks, and there's always an excuse. Maybe think, I know how bad it feels when you wake up and I know I skipped my gym session or my burn boot camp class or my walk yesterday, and now I feel like I should do more today. I feel bad because my bad decisions are compounding. I really don't want to go right now, but I know I'll feel better if I do. So ask yourself, will future me be appreciative of the choice that I'm making now? Finally, know your personal signs of burnout or resistance. So for me, I get to feeling overwhelmed. I start to feel scattered, frantic, frazzled, whatever words you want to use. Those are my signs that I'm getting too exhausted. I don't show physical signs of exhaustion first because I go to this place of urgency of needing to get things done. So I know myself now to know that I might not physically be tired, my brain might not be tired, and because often I'm talking about work, I'm not physically tired because I'm just doing this. I don't show physical signs of exhaustion first, but I can tell now with how my brain starts to function. I can tell whenever I have a hard time making decisions or I keep getting distracted, or I can just tell with this like looming dark cloud that comes over me, that means I'm tired because I start to get overwhelmed. I don't struggle as much with overwhelm during the day when I'm mentally fresh. It always creeps in at night. It always creeps in whenever my brain's fatigued. So now I know for those signs, and for so long I would push right past them because I'm like, I don't feel tired. I feel great. My brain's not tired. My body's not tired. I feel awesome. But it's the sneaky little signs that you have to learn to look out for. if you're just feeling distracted, or if you're feeling like something else is more important, or if you're feeling, like, oh, that couch looks awful comfy, those are probably not signs of exhaustion or fatigue. Those are probably just signs that you would not rather be doing what you're doing. And that's also sometimes just the case. Which brings me to motivation. You're not always going to have the desire to do something, but you have to have motivation and some kind of a discipline. I've been very transparent over the past year, 2 years, no, just year, with how I've struggled with motivation for work, just because my priorities have changed. I've gone through a lot of difficult seasons. I've had a lot of just bigger things that have felt like they take precedent in my mind and what I'm focusing on versus my career. So motivation has been something that I have not always had, but you have to have the discipline to push through that. So there are days whenever I'm like, you know what, I could never get another client again, and I just don't care. The motivation's not there. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel connected to my work. I don't feel like this is my purpose for this stage of my life. And that's whenever I have to get objective and think, I didn't do this for motivation. I didn't do this because I felt so inspired. That was also the case, but I did this because I wanted to have a great source of income for my family. And that's still true. I still want to have that for my family. And that's when discipline has to kick in and say, okay, you still need to do these things to the level that you were doing them before, not the quantity. Okay, I definitely have scaled back, but to the degree of quality that I was accustomed to before. Motivation is just so fleeting. It's so temporary. It can be fleeting in the gym. There are some times that I feel like I want to run through a brick wall and I feel just so amazing. Fortunately, those are more often than not because I love the gym. But in different times in my life, there are stages where I just have not wanted to go. I dread it. I don't care. It doesn't make me feel good. And I want to cancel my spin class. I want to cancel it. I don't want to go. And that's whenever you have to recommit and say, I know that if I take this yoga class, I will leave feeling so much better. I have to be disciplined and go. Or I know if I go to the spin class, I'm going to see my friend Susan. We're going to giggle, have a great time. I'm going to see my spin instructor that I love. And afterwards, I'm going to be feeling like $1,000,000. That's when discipline has to kick in. So you go and you reap the benefits because you ask yourself what future you would think. So if you're someone who struggles with motivation, you probably struggle with consistency because motivation itself is inconsistent. Like I said, it's very fickle. So rather than having motivation be your main driving force and only working towards your goals on days that you feel motivated and connected to them, then we're going to replace motivation with non-negotiable habits. So rather than saying, I will work out when I'm motivated, you will say, I'm going to work out because I need this for my mental health. Or I'm going to work out because I know that I will feel so much better come Memorial Day weekend when I'm on that boat in my bikini if I have committed to my habits now and I feel healthier. Does that make sense? I always struggle with talking about this topic because I don't want to push people into unhealthy diet culture. So I'm sorry that I'm using this example so much because fitness is just it's the low-hanging fruit when it comes to motivation, okay? Let's talk about if you're writing a series of short novellas. That's a different example. So rather than saying, I'm going to write when I feel inspired, no. You're going to sit down and write for 30 minutes every day because you have always dreamt of being someone's favorite author. You've always dreamt of putting something out into the world that they could be in love with and you could be proud of. So you're not going to wait for the inspiration to strike you. You're going to sit down and put yourself in the place that lightning and inspiration can strike you. I hope that is a healthier example. Thank you for bearing with me. So making it easy to win. I don't know about this one. I put this on here because it sounded good, really, but it's kind of the 5-minute rule. Basically, if discipline feels too overwhelming for you, then try and make it less challenging. So if your goal is to journal and do a Bible study every day, then make it simple and say, I'm going to do 1 paragraph of journaling every day. Don't say I'm going to write for 30 minutes or sit down and do a full devotional. Just sit down and say, I'm going to read the Bible verse of the day and write 1 paragraph. And then do that for a week or 2 and then build up and go from there. So maybe like with the 5-minute rule, after you do a little bit of that, you start to move forward and you think, okay, I'm on a roll actually. I'm telling God this story. It's kind of flowing from me. I don't want to stop. Then it just keeps going. So if your goal is to drink more water, just drink like 1 more glass a day. Don't get one of those giant gym bro gallons and try and focus on doing that whole thing. That's overwhelming. It'll be really hard to commit to. And eventually you'll be like, I'm sick of carrying this thing around. It doesn't really fit my cup holder. It's like on the floorboards. I can't reach it. I have to use 2 hands. It's just frustrating. Then you'll stop. So make it more attainable. Get a cute little water bottle, fill it up, and just try and drink that whole thing during the day. micro habits, okay? We went from habit stacking at the beginning to now we're just doing little micro habits to work yourself towards a little bit more discipline. Okay, and lastly, you have to find this balance between treating yourself, which, as you know, I love, and holding yourself accountable. This is very, very similar to everything I've talked about already, but I think we have to know, one, where the line is between self-care and overindulgence, i.e. going to Target and getting a couple things because you feel like you deserve a self-care night after a long week and doing that every single week. So overindulgence is probably whenever you give yourself too many rewards, too many large rewards, and self-care can just be giving yourself the reward in general. So knowing whenever you need momentum versus a break. So sometimes you have to power through and say, okay, if I can just keep going for like another couple minutes, another couple tasks, get these things done, I know myself enough to know the momentum will kick in. I'll start to go, it sucks now. It needs to be done. I'll get through it. Versus needing a break. We discussed that. And are you treating yourself because you need it, because you deserve it, because you gave yourself this motivation? This was like the carrot that you were dangling in front of the treadmill, and now you did the thing, so now you get the reward. Are you treating yourself because you need it and you deserve it, or because it's just a little excuse to do something? So if you're in the Seven parking lot right now, and it's Friday, it's fine, because it's Treat Yourself Friday. But if it's like the fifth time this week, and you're like, I deserve it though, because work was really stressful, my boss sucks, and I just hate customers, so I deserve this. Maybe it has nothing to do with your goals, and that's totally fine. But you got to ask yourself, does this support my habit of getting to bed earlier if I'm having a coffee at 4 p.m.? Maybe not. Maybe not. So a couple questions, once again, because I'm turning this back around on you. So how to know if you're giving yourself grace or avoiding hard things. When you treat yourself, does it make you feel better or does it leave you feeling worse? For example, one of the things that I like to treat myself with is staying up super late on my phone. And I actually, this is not a joke, I get so excited to do it. And usually for me, it's on Thursdays because that's whenever I will self-tan and I'll do my hair and blow it out and everything else and do like some eye masks. And I'm already up late anyways during the Thursday night maintenance routine. But then I'm like, well, Austin's already asleep, so then I can just stay with my phone because I can't talk to him anyways. So I love to treat myself with staying up late on my phone. But I know that's like weekly derailing my goals. It's ruining my sleep schedule because the next day I'm tired. I'm not on my regular sleep-wake cycle. It's a problem. So I love it. That's a habit that's actively against all of my goals. So even though it's a treat that I love, that's not something that I'm allowed to indulge in anymore, on purpose at least. So are your rewards, are your treats aligned with your goals, or are they working against you? And not to say that certain things, like obviously if you're trying to lose weight, you shouldn't have a cheat meal or some cheat meals, or whatever you have decided fits your goals. Obviously that's just balance. But if this is a common frequent thing, maybe address, is it something that you're actively working against yourself on, or is it a little treat that you deserve? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm not great at talking about these topics because I don't want to step on any toes. So I'm always like, well, if it's this, it's okay. If it's like a crumble cookie that you really want, then that's okay, because you have to have a healthy relationship with food and you can't demonize food. So just make sure that you go to the gym the next day. But also you don't have to go to the gym the next day because you don't have to burn it off. It's totally fine if you don't. But then you also have to be okay with not meeting your goals because you're beautiful the way you are. So you don't really need to lose weight. That's totally fine. But you'll feel better if you feel like you've done it for yourself. And then the summer so it's difficult. All right. These topics I struggle with. And if you're listening to it like you're talking out of both sides of your face, girl, what do you even mean? I apologize for that. These are thoughts that I'm working through with myself. And I am an extremist. So being aware of my audience being predominantly female, I always try to speak in a way that would not send someone into a spiral like myself, because I know that I can be pretty intense. So if I ever spoke on this podcast the way I speak to myself sometimes, you guys would be like, this is not fun. This is not encouraging or motivating. This is just like scary and unpleasant. So I don't want to do it. So maybe I won't finish these lists. Okay, I'm already here. I'll finish the list. Have you ever called something self-care when it was really just avoiding something you didn't want to do? Yes. Okay. Do you tell yourself, I'll just start fresh on Monday, or I'll start with the new month, the new year, or I'm just going to wait for that new workout stuff that I ordered to come in, or I'm going to wait until I've read this book because once I read this book, I'll feel much more motivated and then I'll do it? Are you telling yourself you're going to start at X point to avoid just making small adjustments now? This I am bad at because I like to do things all or nothing. So rather than just making small little tweaks to my schedule, like, okay, well, I'm just going to cut back on coffee, I think, okay, what I need is a list of every habit I'm going to change. I need a Pinterest board. I need to go through and visualize. I need to do all these things so that I can succeed at cutting back on coffee. So sometimes I make excuses like that and I push off the inevitable one task and just make it much more complicated. Okay, lastly, do you have a balance between discipline and indulgence, or do you swing between extremes? Let me give you an example of this for me. Again, this is relating to food. This is obviously something I've struggled with in many different manifestations, but I've gone through different phases where I've been overly restrictive and under eating, malnourishing myself, really just trying to be thin. Then, after healing my relationship with food and not demonizing it, I swung to the complete opposite end. And I was like, you know what? I can really eat whatever I want. I can have Nerds clusters for dinner. I can have candy at 9 a.m. I can drink sugary lattes all day long. I can have popcorn at midnight. It does not matter. I don't care what food dye is in it. I don't care how many calories it has. I'm just going to eat what I feel like eating. And honestly, that was fun. Did it bode well for my my health? No. So I swing between extremes. Overly restrictive, not good. Overindulgent, also not good. Now, I've been to Crumble Cookies in the last 10 days, okay? I've had a delicious sugary latte. I've also had healthy, balanced meals. I have monitored the amount of carbs, the amount of fat, the amount of protein that I'm eating because your body needs all of it. So I've done both, and that is where you need to stay. The problem is that it's not just like, okay, I found myself in the middle, and now I can just live here. It's like a tightrope. So you have to truly stay balanced with all of these different things. So the balance between motivation and aggressively holding yourself to a goal, the balance between discipline and pushing yourself to a point that you will inevitably get burnt out and find yourself further away from your goals. This is something that only you can answer for yourself. And I hate to say that my solution to everything is you just have to find balance and just find the middle ground and then stick with that. That's terrible advice, but it's also the best advice. So I would encourage all of you guys that are listening, if you are on work hours, do it now because someone else should pay you for your own self-care. But kind of make a list, whether it's in your head or you're writing it down or you're talking to ChatGPT about this, but make a list of your goals and make it every aspect. Like, what are your financial goals? Do you want to just pay something off? Do you want to, save up a certain amount of money? Do you want to pay off a credit card? Do you want to buy a boat by the summertime? I don't know. Text me, invite me. What's your financial goal? What's your fitness goal? Is it something that is tangible as far as a competition? Like you want to run a 5K at a certain time or run a 5K at all? Do you just want to be more mobile so you can spend more time playing with your kids because for some reason them little suckers is so short you can't get down there? Whatever it is. What are your career goals? Do you want to get promoted? Do you want to finally leave this corporate job and pursue something that's more relaxing? That's maybe you go work at a library, something that's just peaceful and fulfilling. Maybe working in a library is not relaxing. I don't know. I've never done it. But do you want to pivot and maybe choose a slower path or the opposite? Maybe you work at a coffee shop and you love it and you're good at it, but you really want to pursue something that's aggressive. Like you want to pursue sales or something that you can really, bring that commission in. Maybe ask yourself what your goals are. And then ask yourself, are my current habits supporting my goals? I literally did this journal prompt this weekend because I had to evaluate myself. When I feel scattered, I need like a recalibration, like a smart board. I have to go back and be like, okay, I need to recalibrate my fitness, recalibrate my finances, recalibrate this, and then I feel so much better. So ask yourself, do my current habits support my goals? If not, what do I need to change? So for me, my current habits are a lot of survival mode type things. It's a lot of getting through the day, getting all my things on my to-do list done. They're not necessarily advancing me towards my goals. So they're keeping me afloat, but they're not really steering me anywhere. So in order to move towards my goals, do I need to make more time to pursue the podcast? Do I need to make more time to sleep? Do I need to make more time to do whatever? That's personal. Okay, let me have something to myself. I'm just kidding. Nothing is private. But ask yourself if your current habits are supporting the direction that you want to go, and if not, what needs to change, and just start there. So once you have your current habits kind of refined and how you want them to be, then find that balance that you want to stay within and just go ahead and set it now. So if your goal is to be in better shape, then say, I want to go to the gym between 3 and 5 times a week. So you have a ceiling, you have a floor. I'm going to go 3 times a week for sure. I will not make excuses, barring sickness, obviously. We're not going to push through that. But I'm going to make it to the gym 3 times a week, no matter what. If I make it 5, that's amazing. That's awesome. I'm not going to push past that though. I'm not going to go past. I'm going to stick with 5. That's the cap. Okay? And give yourself a range. Or say, I want to start waking up earlier, so I'm going to wake up between 5:30 and 6:30. Maybe you don't get out of bed at 5:30, but if you keep snoozing and it gets to 6:30, you're like, okay, this is the final straw. I have to get up. Give yourself a range and stick to the range so that you can keep between the parameters of giving yourself grace and self-discipline. Man, I hope I nailed that. I probably didn't, but I'll never know because I'm not going to listen to it. So, anywho, just remember, we are all on this journey together. I say this every time, but I am so much a work in progress that I am basically a Missouri interstate. I have been under construction for many years with no end in sight and sometimes no visible progress. But that's okay because one day I aspire to have a completed as promised sign just on my face, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully you took something away from this. The bottom line is there is a balance. You should rest. You deserve to rest. You don't have to earn rest, but also you owe it to yourself to pursue the things that you know in your heart you want to accomplish. So don't accept anything less than that. If this mic were in my hand, I would drop it, but it's not. Okay, final thoughts. I just want to say that I feel like a superhero because I'm wearing a one-piece set. This is probably not so flattering if I were to stand up, but that's okay because I'm recording in my kitchen, so that really wasn't relevant. Anyways, have a wonderful day. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you have all mountains, no valleys. I hope you treat yourself on Friday, get a car wash. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week. Bye.